What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Thursday, May 7th, 2026. My name is Christopher Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter based out of upstate New York here and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where I bring individuals on to talk about their why and get to know them outside of their occupation. I got a very, very special guest that's on with me today. She has a plethora of experience in the coaching field. She also played college basketball at her time at Arizona State University and now is the director of basketball strategy and associate head coach at her alma mater at Arizona State University. But she also made stints at Oregon University, Oregon State University, Vanderbilt University, just to name a few. She's also helped coach players like Angel McCoughtry and also Shoney Shovel, who went to the University of Louisville as well. Without any further ado, I introduce you the wonderful and talented Stephanie Norman. And we're going to learn about her why of getting into sports, but we're also going to ask her some get to know you questions. So, Stephanie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today and give everybody a sense of purpose and adventure on my path as we move and navigate through this story.
Absolutely. And I'm happy to have you. It's such a blessing to have you on here. And listen, my first question to you is the same question as it always is with everybody that hops on this thing. And that is, what is your why? Why do you do what you do? Did you have any role models or any inspirations growing up in or being from Florence, Oregon? Because that's where you're originally from, if I'm not mistaken. But ultimately, what is your why for wanting to get into sports?
Well, I think any human, your why is going to change and evolve as you grow and mature. When I first started coaching, well, actually, I'll take it back. When I first started playing, was a love affair of sports in general. I played everything in high school. I'm from a really small town, about 3,000 people. And so we had to sign up for everything or we wouldn't have sports teams. So that's kind of how my journey began. And then my dad actually sort of grabbed a hold of me and kept helping me work out and do all the things and said I could play college basketball someday. I didn't know whether to believe that or not. You know how parents are. And
Sure.
now this is dating myself, but we put together VHS tape and sent it out to several schools. I got a response back from a couple. Nebraska and Arizona State offered me a scholarship based upon VHS tapes because when I played in high school, it was just the start of AAU. There wasn't even a thing, so everyone just had to submit video tapes, and that's
Right.
how I chose some sunshine because I'm from the state of Oregon and it rains quite a bit. We call it liquid sunshine. And so I decided to go down to the desert and play down there instead of going to sort of the cold and frosty Nebraska. So that's how I landed at Arizona State. My why, though, of getting into coaching was purely an accident. It was sort of a left-hand turn that I made. I was a When I went to Arizona State, I was a wildlife biology major. So I thought, well, I was going to work for the Forest Service, the United States Forest Service. I was working
Right.
for an all-female crew of fisheries biologists, and I was the head of that crew. And so they told me if I wanted to get a raise, I'd have to go back and get more education. As you move up in the federal government, if you get more education, you get more pay. So I was like, absolutely, I want to do that. So my
Right.
why back then was so I can get more pay and I could start a career. And so I thought the only way that I could really make that happen was to be a grad assistant because I had got a scholarship obviously for my undergrad to play at Arizona State, but I didn't have any money to try to pay for my grad school. So I applied to several institutions, and it was back in the day of snail mail. You sent out a letter, and somebody saw it, and they
Right.
sent it back to you. So I actually was backpacking around Europe the whole summer, this whole particular summer with two of my teammates from college, and I would check in with my mom every week at a call bank. We had calling cards back then, and so I would call home and say, "Did anybody send a letter back?" And she's, every time was like, "No, no, no." And then finally, towards the end of our trip, I called and she had said I got a letter from the University of Hawaii, and I said, "Well, is there a phone number? How can I get in touch with this gentleman?" and his name was Vince Goo. And so I ended up calling him, and he said, "Well, if you can, I liked your letter. If you can get here in 3 days, the job is yours." And I was like, I'm on an island in Santorini, Greece, and so yeah, I'll do it. So I left my compadres. I took an 8-hour ferry ride to Athens. I flew from Athens to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Minneapolis, Minneapolis to Seattle. My mom drove up from Oregon, met me in Seattle with my bicycle and some a new bag of clothes that I had. I dumped my backpack with my 3 months of hiking stuff in the trash, put new clothes in my backpack, got on a flight the next morning from Seattle to Honolulu, and that's where I started my master's degree. So obviously, my why back then was to advance my education and my career. I started coaching with Vince Goo, and that man is iconic. He coached I don't know how many years over at Hawaii, but it was truly remarkable, my experience there. And all of a sudden, I finished up my master's, and I kind of subscribe to the atomic habits theory of not having goals but having pathways and having direction. But I think sometimes if we have a goal, when we set our mind on one thing, then we don't allow amazing things to enter from the left and the right because we have blinders on because we're uber focused on one thing. I was lucky
Right.
enough to not have blinders on, and decided that, dang, I kind of like this coaching thing. Maybe I'll try that instead of going back and working for the Forest Service. So I put some feelers out and resumes out, and got a job as an assistant coach at the University of Oregon. I was fortunate enough that they had recruited me out of high school, so the head coach there knew me, and that's really how my journey started. My why changed as life happens, and I think how your why changes is built upon resilience, and built upon making mistakes and doing right things too. And
Sure.
so, as you evolve and you age, and you begin to have a family and a career, all the whys change. And so, yeah, now I'm in a space, fast forward 38 years here later, I'm in a space of servanthood and gratitude. And that's really my why. And what's captivating me right now is chasing excellence. So, there's a lot of life in between all of that, but that's kind of my why and how it started, and now it's transitioned into other things as I am on the back nine, I say, of my career.
I love that. I love the fact that you said that. And that's a great start to this conversation, Stephanie. It really is. And listen, while you were talking, I was thinking of some bonus questions in my mind because we are talking about the Pac-10. Well, what
Mhm.
was the Pac-10?
Yes,
No longer
absolutely.
the Pac-10 and Pac-12. Because I grew up in California. So I'm so used to obviously the Pac-10, the Pac-12, and stuff like that. But I want to ask this bonus question. You had an opportunity to play against one of the greatest basketball players ever, which is Cheryl Miller.
Yes, Cheryl Miller. Absolutely. I have a picture of her in my office. That's funny you say that. I don't have it here, but in my office at ASU, I have a picture. I don't know who snapped it, but I am shooting, and I will testify to this day I made the shot. But she is going to block it, and she is about. You can see the feet, and so if in reference, say her feet are this high off the ground, and mine are about this high off the ground. So everyone that comes in, and it's very visible that it's her, and it's the back of me. So it's shot
Mhm.
with the front of her and the back of me. And yes, it was what a remarkable experience from a small town girl to be able to do something like that is really amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm not mistaken, I believe in '85 is when they won the national championship, just being a
Yeah,
historian of the game, and that had to be quite the experience playing against a team that actually won it in your division,
yeah,
the national championship. So that
they
had to be
were amazing.
amazing.
They were amazing, and she was amazing. And you have to sort of be wise beyond your years to remember those times.
Hmm.
And I'm sure there's footage somewhere of someone capturing, her playing. But yeah, we got blown out. We were not that good. We were an average team, I should say. And I was an average player. Let's get that straight from right now. I held up the team GPA, so that was So I did that quite well, though. I must say, I have several plaques in my office that have like our GPA and my awards, my academic awards. So,
I
you
love
know,
that.
when you sit the bench a little bit, you get humbled a little bit, and you also learn a lot. And that's probably, honestly, in retrospect, where my coaching probably began because I had to think the game more than play the game. And so that was my contribution to help my teammates that obviously were more talented than myself. And I prided myself on being tough. I really was a very resilient kid back then.
Right.
And you know, we didn't have the option of transferring or something didn't go right. Like I just quit. This was my only path out of my little community in Oregon was to get an education, and so I wasn't about to give up on things just because it was a little bit hard or I didn't play. We fought our way through things, and
Mhm.
my teammates then are still friends of mine today, and we laugh and giggle all the time. Not about the games. Gosh, I don't even know if we can remember the games as much as we do all the nuances that we went through. We just had actually the 50-year reunion of women's
Wow.
basketball at Arizona State this last
Yeah.
fall. And
Okay.
many of my teammates came back, and even some of my teammates, not my teammates, but folks in the early 80s. Kim Hampton is probably the most legendary player that played at Arizona State, and so there was a whole host of folks that came back. It was just super awesome
Mhm.
to give each other hugs and really kind of rekindle that pride in what we did and what we accomplished.
I love that. And listen, my next bonus question that I had for you was you talked about Vince, you talked about your coach Goop, right? Talked
Mhm.
about Coach Goop, but you also had, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Coach Jennifer at one point as your or Coach Willett. I might be saying that name wrong.
Uh,
Um,
at
uh,
Hawaii, it was just Vinsku. That was it.
no, no,
And
I'm
I,
talking about when you played, who you
oh
played
yeah,
under. Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes,
Sorry.
yes. Yeah.
Yes,
And then
yeah.
you also had a Coach Mara as well, if I'm not
Yes, Maura
mistaken.
McHugh. Maura
Um,
McHugh was my next coach. It was Julian Simpson was my first head coach.
Simpson,
And-
yes.
yes, and then Maura McHugh, she came in my senior year, and she actually, this is a full circle moment. She's our radio person today.
Mm,
She's co-host of our. She does our in-game analysis and stuff on the radio. And
yeah.
every day before the game, we dab it up, and I give her a hug. And so, yeah, that's my coach. You know, when your coach is your coach, it's always your coach. So I got to see Julian Simpson, who was my coach for 3 years, at that reunion I was speaking about. And then my
Hmm.
last year was Maura McHugh, and she had come from Oklahoma. And the only thing you guys got to remember, there was no social media, there's no internet, there was no
Right,
email, there was no cell
right.
phone. So the only thing I had heard of her was somebody had sent me a newspaper article, and there was some brawl at the end of a game that she coached in, and I was like, right
Oh,
on, my kind of coach, let's go.
I love it. I love it. Now, I want to ask you from learning from Coach, I believe Coach Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, in Louisville. I
Coach
might have his name
Wall, yes, Coach
right,
Jeff Wall, yes,
but also Molly there at
yes,
ASU. Tell
yes.
me something unique about each person. It could be just one or two things. Tell me something unique about each person that you actually learned that was something new for you before you joined those staffs.
Well, so the story goes when I joined Louisville staff, Coach Walls was an assistant at Maryland. He had just won the national championship as associate head coach there with Brenda Fries. And he
Hmm.
took this job at Louisville. He's from Northern Kentucky, which, if you know the proximity, Louisville sits on the Ohio River, and right
Yep.
across the Ohio River is, Cincinnati and all of those spaces. But anyways, he's from that area, so he got the job, and I was coaching at Vanderbilt at the time, and
Mhm.
we had known each other from the recruiting trail, and just admired his work. He's very funny, very sarcastic. I think that would probably be the first word I would describe him. Very driven. And so when I was at Vandy, he got the job, and I had reached out to him, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come up and I'd like to talk to you about this job." And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, what the heck? So I drove up. It's about a 2.5 hour drive. And I walked in, and literally sat down, and he's scratching something on a piece of paper and slides across the desk, and he's like, will this do? And I mean, we hadn't even spoke for a minute before he's writing a number down and slides it across the desk, and I looked down and I said, that'll do, I'll take the job.
So hold on. So you get there, and the first thing he does is write a dollar amount and slides the paper over to you and says, "Okay, hey, what this do?" And you're
Yeah.
like, you know what? Ain't no conversation needed. If you're gonna put this type of dollar amount on it, I'm with it. Is that basically what happened?
That's basically what happened. And I
Okay.
think that that one moment was just an encapsulated, bigger perspective of what we were about in our synergy. I'm not about the nuances, the niceties. You know, when people text in the morning and they say, "Oh, good morning," you know, blah blah blah. I'm like, "What do you want? Like, let's just get down to business." And so, knowing him from the road and us giggling and laughing all the time, you know, we didn't know each other like really well, but as colleagues in the industry, you know, you cut it up here and there, and so I did know of his personality, and so when that was the first thing he did, I thought the best response was like, "Yeah, I'll take it."
Love
so
it.
so
Love
from
it.
there, then obviously we you know, we talked about the job, and one of he is by far my greatest mentor, and where
Okay.
all of the things that go in my mind have come from. He's just he, everything he does is elite, and he thinks about excellence in every step of the way. He's
Hmm.
very mindful of his program and how people are treated and the expectations also. He is never one to sort of mince words, and you have to have thick skin for him. And I think, honestly, looking back in retrospect, my experience as a player
Hmm.
of having to be resilient and tough and not look, it was the 80s, so no coach worried about what they said or how they said it or if they cursed
Hmm.
at you or not. That was like pfft, that's all fair game.
Right.
So with him, if you went about your business and were elite at what you did, and you stayed in your lane and you brought solutions to the table, he was amazing to work for. I considered him a dear friend and absolutely loved it. Now it's not for everybody, and not everybody can handle it
For sure.
because there's expectations, and it's a production industry, right? If you don't produce, you don't have a job. And I was very aware of that. And quite frankly, every day I would approach coming into work thinking, what can I do today not to get fired? Even though that wasn't a reality, that's the
Hmm.
mindset that he had with his bosses, and that trickled down to everyone else. So we were always on point. And if you didn't step up to the table, you were just simply gone. So I wasn't about to be gone, and
Right.
so I
Right.
feel like the 18 years we had together, we were really, I call it partners in crime. It was really surprising, I think, in the basketball world of in my circles that I would have left, and it was surprising to me as well, because it was just a joy of my life to be in that program and build it up from, quite frankly, a scratch. It was a program that hadn't been past the second round of the NCAA tournament, and we went to four Final Fours and had 25 kids drafted in the tenure that we were there. So he's just a master at his craft. He's authentically himself.
Mhm.
He doesn't try to imitate anybody, and I'd say he's pretty opinionated too. So,
Love it.
um,
Love
so
it.
yeah, he was really he. I attribute everything that I have in my brain today about this industry and about this career, quite frankly, to him. And
Mhm.
so yeah, he is a big part of my coaching career and evolution, quite frankly. And then I took this kind of crazy adventure late in my career.
Mhm.
Coach Miller and I surprisingly enough, because I know just about everybody, I did not know her. She was in D2 for quite some time, and then got the job at Grand Canyon. And I had not had an opportunity to meet her. I knew of her, and I'd seen her videos. I think a lot of people watch her videos.
For
She
sure.
has
No
she has
question.
a ton of energy. That's kind of what she's known for, and she's married to the defensive side of the ball. So she's put out a lot of great teaching videos that a lot of coaches have seen and kind of try to emulate. So I knew that she was a winner, and so when she got the job, I DM'd her because I didn't have her cell phone number. So I just congratulated her and I said, "Hey, if you need any help with the alums, please hit me up because I'm stay in touch with all of that group, not the obviously not
Absolutely.
group, but the old dinosaurs." I said, I'm still in contact with them. And I said, I'm just super proud that we have a great coach now that can really elevate this program and take it, back to where Charlie had it, when she had Sweet 16s and a couple of Elite Eights. And so I knew what the potential was down there. So I had just reached out to congratulate her and say, hey, if you need any help, I'm here. And she's
Hmm.
like, do you have what's your number? So I gave it to her and then she called me and so we kind of got through the niceties, and then she started talking about the job, and I was like, "Why are you talking about the job to me?" And she's like, "Well, I was wondering if you'd be interested in it." And I was like, "Girl, no, no, I have a great job, and I've raised my kids here. It's been such a blessing from for 18 years to not have to move my family and." Typically, everybody else that is in this business, you move and your kids move, and it's a
Oh,
new
for sure.
school.
Yeah.
The life of a spouse and kids of a coach is not fun, but I was blessed to be able to stay in one place and raise my kids all through high school. So that was amazing. And so she's like, well, I just want you to think about it. What role would entice you or excite you about coming back? And I was like, none. I'm not coming. And she's like, just sleep on it, and I'll call you back tomorrow. And
Right.
this is the space I would attribute her to is her persistence, and she's pesky, and she knows what she wants. And so the next day she called again, and I was like, "Dang, here's that dang coach again, calling again." So I
Hmm.
pick up, and she tells me more about the kind of the space she would need my help in. And so I talked to my husband after the second call, and then I talked to Coach Walls because at first it was just a like pie in the sky type of idea, and I wasn't even thinking about it.
For sure.
And so then I talked to Coach about it, and this is the blessing that I have in him too. He encouraged me if this is something because he knew that my husband and I would like to retire down there. That this was something. It was a new space. It was sort of in a GM model. They don't call it that, but that's kind of what I do. And it was really about impact that I could have so much impact with a young female head coach that I could uplift and serve. And so by the time the third call came around, my husband's like, "Let's do this adventure. Let's just go for it. Why not? Life's short. Let's have some fun." And I was like, "You know what? You're right. I don't think me personally I could do anything more for Louisville." But here at Arizona State, I could have a huge part in reclaiming what had been in the past and to really elevate this space. And that it means it's so hard to describe. It just means so much more when you put your blood, sweat, and tears into something, and then
For sure.
that I can have
Yes.
a full
Absolutely.
circle moment and finish what I started. That I get to call my exit in this industry is really unheard of. We all get fired, and so for me to be able to say yes to this was really an affirmation of kind of the work that I had put in for the last 38 years, so or 37 back then.
I love that. No, I do. And obviously, it's pretty sweet for you to come back home, right? Come
Mhm.
back home to your alma mater and be able to make an impact, and not just an impact on the basketball court, but as a, like you said, kind of a GM, kind of an overseer of the
Right.
program, and be able to, bring in wonderful, help bring in wonderful kids and recruits and stuff like that. So I love that. Now, Stephanie, we'll transition a little bit, and I'm going to ask you some. Uh, Favorite questions. Okay, so you just give me some of your favorites. Give me some of the 411 off the rip based upon these. Okay, so here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Oh, that's easy. Pot roast. Just had it last night.
Okay, now. All right, that's what's up. I like that. Okay, I like it real tender too. Tender with
Yeah,
the
Mississippi pot
potatoes.
roast to be specific.
My goodness, Stephanie. I'm listen. I don't know if you're gonna be a little bit the same time as me, but I had to hit you up because
Come
I
on
love me
over.
some pot
Come on
roast.
over.
I
I
love that.
actually I enjoy cooking, so I have quite a few, but pot roast is my fave.
I love that. Okay, let me ask you this: favorite concert you've ever attended?
That's easy too. Melissa Etheridge. She's my all-time favorite. I've seen her 5 times.
Mm,
So that was really cool. Uh, that's the thing that pops in my head. The one who I see the most, who I like the most.
mhm.
But I also, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a Swiftie, so I got to see Taylor Swift too. That was pretty cool. So when
Who
you work at
isn't?
universities, the concerts come through. I've seen a lot. Lionel Richie has to be up there too,
Oh yeah,
because
oh yeah,
I went. My two friends from high school flew in, and we made T-shirts that said hello with Lionel's face on it. So we went all out. If I'm going to do something, it's going to be all out. So those are some of
right.
my favorites. My favorite artist is Melissa Etheridge, and I'm going to throw a question back at you. Well,
Okay.
it's sort of an answer. If I could see someone in concert that I haven't seen, I will tell you that would be Barbara Streisand. So
Mm,
those those are my favorites, icons. Yeah, those are the ones that pop in my head. Barry Manilow
love
wasn't
that.
bad either, but he's an oldie but a goodie. Have seen Elton John too, so
Oh yeah,
but
that's one person I have seen. Elton John, Lionel Richie, is definitely one of my favorites. I have not
he's
seen him in concert,
amazing,
but he's
amazing.
definitely one of my favorites. But for people that think you're saying "Hello, Lionel Richie," no, "Hello" is actually one of the songs that Lionel Richie
Yes,
has.
yeah.
So
I would
that
hope we
is
all know that.
right, right. "Hello" is actually a song title,
Yes,
folks. That's the song. So yes, he was great. He was amazing.
yes.
Favorite place you've ever traveled to?
That's easy too. Whistler, Canada. It is
Mm,
the only place I know that has two five-star ski runs next to each other. And not that I'm a great skier by any means, because I was a basketball player. We weren't allowed to go snow skiing, but I am an avid outdoors person, and it is one of the most beautiful places on this earth. And the summer activities up there, it's just, I could literally sit on the mountaintop and just look out and be happy as a clam. So they have a Michelin restaurant, one a Michelin three-star
mm,
restaurant up there.
yeah.
There's kayaking, there's zip lining in old growth forest, there's ATV riding, there is canoeing. It's endless. Golfing. So I've been up
I
there
love
several
that.
times. If I had enough money, which I don't, and that's a place I could be for the rest of my life, that's what I would pick.
Absolutely. I love that. I love all those things that you just mentioned. Throw in whitewater rafting for me too. Me personally. I love a whitewater rafting adventure. That's just me, but my family
I will
loves it.
tell you, we shouldn't digress to whitewater rafting because I this is kind of one of those trivia questions, and not trivia, but so I have river rafted the entire Grand Canyon from uh,
Mm.
the start to finish. So it took me 2 trips, but my son and I have rafted the entire Colorado River.
Okay. Well, you know, you and I are definitely gonna keep in touch because we definitely got to talk more about that. That's for sure. I'm intrigued to know more about that.
Yeah.
We're sports people, so I'm gonna ask you a two-part sports question here, and that is favorite sport you like to watch on TV, but also favorite sport you like to attend in person. They could be the same sport.
I'll do the 10 in person first. This is a tough one. So I've only been to this once, but I loved it so much, and that was a heavyweight prize fight. So
Mm,
boxing.
yeah.
But I would say that the sporting event that I like to attend the most in person is probably baseball, and it isn't because I like baseball. I just love a hot dog and a cold beer, and whoever you go with. And yeah, so I like the environment of baseball.
Yeah.
It's not like very fast paced, but I get me with a beer and a hot dog, and I'm in when it comes to baseball. My family now is Canadian. My husband's Canadian, so ice
Mm.
hockey rules in this household right now. So when my son was playing and my daughter was playing, I'd love to go watch them play.
Well, listen, hockey is big time up here right now, obviously with the
That it
Buffalo
is.
Sabres being
Sabres,
in the
yeah.
playoffs, right? So
They had a good
big
win
time
last
up
night.
here. Yes, great win last night. So
Our
awesome.
household does not have like NFL Network or whatever. We have the NHL Network. That's yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's what's up. And I love the fact you said cold beer and a hot dog. You are my type of gal to be around, Stephanie. There's no question about that.
Just keep it easy.
Throw a funnel cake up in there too, because
Oh
I'm a
yeah.
sweet guy for
Oh yeah.
sure. But yes, that's me too. I love that. Last of the favorites. Uh, Favorite place you like to eat out at? Like I said, I've only been to Louisville once. And I have not had a chance to kind of tour the city, but I definitely will be back there at some point. I need to know what is a restaurant that I should go check out.
First and foremost, and I don't even know how to pronounce it all, but it's the Cuban restaurant that we have in town. It's like El Boguita, blah, 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 something. Um, but it is by far my favorite restaurant.
Okay.
There's hands down, it's spectacular.
Okay. I'll definitely be on the lookout for that.
If you like
Obviously.
pina coladas, it's the best I've ever had.
Oh, okay. Now hold on. Do they put salt around the rim? Or
Not
salt
on a
around the
pina
rim?
colada. Not on a pina colada.
Okay, now on the pina colada. They do that some places. I'm not preferably into that, but pina coladas for me, I definitely you got to make those right. Some people
Yes.
don't know how to make a good pina colada.
No.
They say they
This
do,
place
but they
does.
don't know.
This place does. And then my favorite meal there, they have this, it's really unique. It's in a can and they open the can and in
Hmm.
it, I don't know how they do it, but is kind of a pot roast type of theme. It's beef in there and they open the can and they dump it out and it comes with rice and beans and it is just woo. I'm getting hungry thinking about it. But yeah,
Love it.
it's one of my favorites. And then, you got Jeff Ruby's is a great steakhouse. That's kind of iconic here in Louisville. So yeah, this is a foodie city in Louisville. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Now,
I
if
have
I'm
to
in
hit you
Arizona,
up when I'm there.
yeah. If I'm in Arizona, though, that's a different ball game. That you got to go with some Latin food when you get down there.
Okay, enough said on that for sure. I want to talk to you now about your day-to-day process. And the
Hmm.
reason why I want to do that is because, being as a head coach, obviously the season ends, but the season really doesn't end, right? Because then you got off-season stuff that's going on. And even
Yeah.
with your role as director of basketball strategy, I would love to know what is a day-to-day operation like that? When do you normally start your day? When do you end your day? What do you do in between the day? Break it down to me, those two particular roles and how you wear those two different hats and try to be able to do the job that you do.
Yeah, so when people ask me what I do, I'm really kind of jack of all trades, master of none, is what I say. I lean into just about everything because if you've coached for as long as I have, I think you probably have some great experience with all of the things. What I'm commissioned with, I would say probably 75% of my job is recruiting. That's because it's my choice. When I talked to Molly about this job, one of the things, because she had talked to me about a title and what that all meant. And I was like, well, I'm not interested if I can't recruit because I'm very much a relationship person. I like to be a part of strategizing of how we can get these recruits. And so much has changed, and how I go about that business has changed. Obviously, now there's so much financial pieces involved in that,
Mm,
and that's kind of my second hat of where I put a lot of time is all the donor relations, trying to get platforms for my head coach to be a part of. I had a master plan in mind when I took this job of putting her in unique spaces that other women's basketball coaches haven't been in, and we're still working on all of that. You have to win first before people want to have a part of things. And there's an old quote that says something to the effect of, a lot of people want a piece of the pie. I want the recipe, so we're not the same. And so I'm trying to figure out how these pieces of pie all add up to what really is the big picture of what we're doing and how we're going about it. And I think if anybody's followed her in our program, I get jokes all the time. They call her, she's everywhere. Why is my algorithm showing up? And she pops up all the time. And I was like, it's intentional. In my brain, I have a master plan of how to elevate this program, and a big part of that is elevating her. And she's just really unique and has a ton of energy and is willing to do all the things and places I put her in. I think we counted it up. We had 53 social engagements this year
mm,
alone,
wow.
and that's been, she's flown to Nashville and done speaking engagement. The Final Four was in Phoenix this year,
Yes, it
and
was.
had a whole bunch of things there. And so, yeah, we've put her everywhere and really tried to elevate her in that capacity. So game planning is a lot with outside of the game is what I do, and then obviously a commission to try to raise money for NIL and meet as many alums and boosters and captivate audiences as much as we can. And we're really kind of partners in this. And that's what she emphasized when I took the job is she wanted somebody to show her the way because, for every year at Louisville, we went to postseason play, and
Mhm.
for 37 straight years of my career, I've been involved in programs that have played in the postseason. So I don't even know what losing looks like. All I've done is win, and I say that humbly because I've been afforded some great head coaches to work under.
Mhm.
But I've also made wise choices and where I worked and where I put myself in, and then the best attribute that the bosses gave me is just let me cook. And so giving me freedom to be able to do what I do. I'm a huge political junkie. I'm not really affiliated. I don't care for either party, but I am very intentional about watching the mastery of executing a game plan and securing a vote.
Mhm.
So I try to implement those strategies. I see what works. Now, the last sort of political cycle has been a one-off. I wouldn't necessarily take that as what I'd want to do, but I think you understand what I'm
Sure.
saying is like I need to
Yeah.
capture a recruit. They need to capture a vote. And so I'm not really consumed with the candidates, but who I am consumed with is who's running their campaign. Those are the people that I follow on my socials, and I try to do deep dives on those people to see what's going on in their brain because I really feel like I'm a campaign manager. If I had to sum up my job here, it equates to that is where I stay behind the scenes. But people that know, they admire my work and are very complimentary of what I do. And I am also a huge person that I try to pour into young coaches and give a ton back because I want to see our game grow and elevate the space, and I want to have people respect my work for when I'm done. That I can say job well done. So
Mm.
that's my role. It's a lot of different things, and obviously when practice starts, I'm on the court coaching and doing all the coaching things, and strategizing in game. But I don't do as much. Well, actually, I don't do barely any individual work or player development stuff. I just don't have the time anymore. And so I have a few scouts, but not what I'm normally accustomed to because I am doing deep dives on all the things in the community and
Sure.
getting her in different spaces and sort of just a big advisory role.
No, I like that. And like I said, it's amazing how many jobs there are in sports that people really don't know about. When you see titles and labels on people, you like, okay, that's very fancy, that's nice, but then you don't know the 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 inside of what's going on, of what you do on a day-to-day basis. And listen, what you described it eloquently. You really did, but that's a lot to be putting in on you to do that. And but it's also I sense there's like this a sense of like focus, but also a sense of like, man, this is something that I'm gonna turn this program around and like it's just a will, a drive
It's,
that you
it's,
have,
it's
a
an
passion,
obsession. It's an obsession.
obsession.
Um, yes. And I think that is, look, when I got down to Arizona, my husband stayed here because, like I said, he's a high school teacher. My
Hmm.
kids are grown, so they're, doing professional things. And I wanted to go down there by myself so I could just be a maniac and be obsessed with a psychopath with this job.
Hmm.
And, it's funny, I have here, my daughter was laughing because I have, sorry, this is my to-do list, and it hundreds of pages long. And I'm old school because everything can't be on my phone. And so I literally
Right,
write all of the to-do things down and
right.
cross them off because it kind of makes you feel good when you do it. But when I got down here, I was able, the only time I have for myself to not think about everything in life is right when I wake up. And I go for a walk every morning in Arizona. It's just gorgeous. So why not? And I started listening to a podcast. I've never been a podcast person my entire life. And I just stumbled upon it on accident. It wasn't even on purpose. I pushed the wrong button and it got me to this guy named David Senra, who is his podcast. He basically reads novels of entrepreneurs and then summarizes whatever the book was about the person in the podcast. So you don't have to read the book, thank goodness, because I don't have time to do anything like that.
Right.
And I'm actually more of an entrepreneurial freak than I am a sports freak. So I would rather listen to people that have been elite in the business world speak versus sports icons. So, anyways, I stumbled upon his podcast, and he was talking about, and it stopped me in my tracks when I was walking. So he was talking about this gentleman named Daniel Ek, who is the founder of Spotify, and he was talking about like how at 20 whatever he was, that he thought he could take on Apple Music, a multi-billion-dollar industry, and here this kid is trying to make waves. And he said the most important thing when you take on any new adventure, any new endeavor, is to chase impact, not happiness. And that's where everybody gets it wrong. Everyone's like, girl, just do you, whatever makes you happy, blah blah
Mhm.
blah. And I stopped and I was like, I didn't know why, but that's why I took this job, because I could be impactful here. All my knowledge and things I had stored up for 30 plus years could now be used and perspective gained. And I always approach Molly with like, you might want to think about this. But if she doesn't want to do it, she's the boss. And I am very cognizant of that, and I stay in my lane. But all the time, I just tell her, just sleep on this, think about this. And probably 9.9 times out of 10, she's like, you're right, let's do this. And so feeling that feeling of impact of like what you're doing makes a difference is really keenly unique to this profession and where I'm at right now in my life and this job. And so I definitely feel very valuable for her. And I told her my only two things is to protect her and to uplift her. And then once this program gets in that space, then I feel like I've done my job and I can duck out.
I love it. I love it. And listen, with this kind of new wave, as you talked about, new wave of players, as archaically shown, as you've written down stuff and crossing it out. A lot of people use technology now.
Yes.
I want to talk to you about a space about mental health and work-life balance. And not just your mental health and work-life balance, because I'm a journalist. I've seen many journalists step away from the industry because their mental health's affected. I've seen many people step away because of work-life balance. They just could not get it right. And in my opinion, I don't think you ever 100% get it right in this industry, because we work long hours, long days, and it varies from week to week, season to season. I want you to tell me, how do you keep your mental health strong, but also still have that work-life balance, right? Being a mom, being a wife, being a coach, being a director, but also not just you, your players. Your players on the team. Right? When players are going through all different kind of things, there's college life, there's all kind of social things going on, there's social media going on. You never want to get that call late night that something is going on. Not to say that that will happen, but we know things do happen in college. So tell me, how do you manage that and manage your mental health as well?
Yeah, I think I'm probably not the expert on all of the things because I'm kind of a hard butt. um, because again, I think where how you grow up in this industry and how you build up that resilience. So I have that side of me, and then I have this tender heart over here that is very practical and empathetic, and I love playing kind of those dual roles. And but I am sort of a subscriber. If your listeners know of an author and an entrepreneur named, I don't know if I'm saying her last name right, but I think it's Emma Greed. I just bought her new book. She's on a
Hmm.
speaking tour right now. And, she is a huge advocate of women empowerment, but she also speaks from a place of concern about how, as women, we want it all, but then we don't want it all. And I learned sort of from Coach Walls. It was really interesting. One year, he was talking. He often just refers to it as Louisville basketball, not Louisville women's basketball. And he said, "So, guys, when the men don't go home for Christmas break, they stay here and practice." Which under Coach Pitino, they did that quite often, and
Right.
because he's that old school guy too, that we kind of he's older than me, but like grew up in that same sort of era.
For
And he's
sure.
like, so you guys want all the same things, but then you don't, right? Because you do want to go home for Christmas. And I'm like, yeah, we do want to go home for Christmas. And so sometimes I get caught up on that yin and yang of, yes, we want to be able to do all the things.
Hmm.
But then we're also moms. We're also sisters, aunts, mentors, all of the things. And so finding that balance of, there's innate pressure for women. When a guy leaves work to go to his kid's softball game or baseball game, it's like, oh my gosh, what an amazing dad. But if it's a woman, you almost feel the reverse of like, oh, you can't handle your business because you're ducking out on your job. And so there's a fine line that women have to try to navigate through to be a lead at their profession, but also prioritize, the things that are most important. And I think in all of this, you have to have an amazing partner. And I'm very fortunate that I do, that he's always allowed me to go chase my dreams and sort of stayed in the background and supported me. So behind any good executor of a game plan is always an amazing partner in life. And so I was just very fortunate to have one. And he's allowed me to go and go down to Arizona and do it solo for a little while until I feel like we've got it going and I don't have to obsess over it so much.
Sure.
But yes, the mental health part of it, I enjoy reading. I enjoy the outdoors. I go for walks in the morning. I think you have to carve out space for yourself, because if you're not the best version of yourself, then you can't surely be that for somebody else. But I also think, the things that Emma talks about is rising that corporate ladder as a woman. And I talk to our players all the time. Corporate America is currently old white men, and we have to be able to walk in that room and own the space and have confidence in ourselves and be able to reflect and ooze that we can be in charge as well. And so I don't know where that comes from. I think it's just making a bunch of mistakes and trying to figure out it right, and
Right.
then owning the space that you're in. I tell people all the time, I don't have imposter syndrome. I know my value. I know what I'm capable of, and I've worked very hard to put myself in that position. So I'm confident in that, and so I'm also a very curious person and always wanting to learn and strategize. And that's, I think, my MO is that I'm never stop learning. I'm obsessed with getting better at my craft. And so those are the spaces that I utilize. My faith is really important to me as well. So no matter what your faith is, if you have some sort of, you're grounded in something, I think that's helpful. And with my players, I think just reality. I think God put me in a place that I didn't play a whole bunch. So for the most part, it's always kids in your office that want to play more or think, that other things should be happening for them and to them. And so I can lean into some of those experiences and just talk about real life. Everybody's gifts are something different, and sometimes we can't appreciate that until after it's gone. And we look
For
back and
sure.
go, man, I learned a ton by sitting on the bench, or I learned a ton by these interactions, and how I could be an amazing business partner because I know how to navigate conflict. And then there's some really tough issues. People have not so nice home lives and haven't had parents that have loved them. And so those are all really unique spaces. As a mom, I feel like I can come to them and be a good listener too. Like that's a part of it. You don't always have to speak your mind. You need to listen and be empathetic.
I agree. I don't think I don't think you can have a great relationship without trust and communication. Communication
Mm,
from both ways, not just being able to advocate for yourself, but also being able to listen.
right.
I feel like listening is way more important than speaking in the first place. It really tells, number one, your understanding of what that individual is talking about, and that's also makes you a great recruiter as well, right? You not just recruiting yourself, but you're also trying to, see what the individual is wants or needs or what they're looking for and stuff like that. And which bleeds into a great segue of this next question, and that is advice. What is some advice that you would give an individual, whether they want to be a coach like yourself or maybe in a hierarchy position like yourself? I'm sure people have came up to you and asked you this question. What is an advice that you would give someone that wants to follow in similar footsteps that you have done?
Yeah, I think I've used the word a bunch today, but resilience, elite mentality. You really have to have a game plan in place in your head. You always have to grow and think of like, how can I be better? How can I out strategize? What's my advantage? What's my kryptonite? I just think you have to be a thinker, and you have to use your brain, and you can't just be reactive. Reactionary in this business is not good. You have to be extremely loyal, and you have to navigate through pathways that oftentimes are uncomfortable and aren't always the clearest. But you have to be able to adapt to different circumstances, different people, different personalities. So I think the best advice is that you have to be Switzerland. You have to know a little bit about everything and not a lot about one thing. And you got to be kind of neutral. And I have to be able to bounce in everybody's homes and lifestyles. And, my dad left me with this quote: a man who knows knows nothing, but a man who knows nothing knows. So I think the broader your perspective is, not just consuming with basketball stuff, but life in general. If you know a little bit about everything, you're going to be way better off than knowing a whole bunch about one thing. I'm sure there's some amazing, baseline out of bounds coaches or coaches that have the best of something. I'd like to think that I can lean into a lot of things and a lot of topics, and that I'm at least a little worldly, and that I can be relatable.
Oh, for sure, no question. And you guys had a great year this past year, in my opinion. You guys had a pretty good year, and
Probably
obviously you
won
won
too many games. Now it's setting us
right.
up. People are like, "Oh, what are you going to do next?" I was like, "We won 24 games. It was actually the fourth largest turnaround in NCAA history." And
Mhm.
so we did some amazing things, and really carved a pathway for us, and we set the foundation. But we're just getting started. So whether that's evaluating on winning basketball games or putting my head coach in new spaces, and making her a marketable item across the panel of in the industry. Those are things that I want to do. Is I want to be different. And all of the entrepreneurs that I've listened to and studied, that is one of the key elements, is that you have to be different, and you have to figure out ways to do things in a different way. Otherwise, you're just gonna get the same results as everybody else. So I really, in the next 5 years, want to put this place on top of the world and see what we can do.
And I love that because that's actually what's going to be my question is where do you see this team going in the next like few years as far
Mm.
as like what do they need to improve or what do they need to keep the same and stuff like that because obviously a 24 win season a lot of teams would want a 24 win season. Hell, I covered a team in the University of Buffalo that had a brand new coach that came in here in Kristen Sharkey. She came from Syracuse.
Mm.
They had three wins all season. But
Oh, wow.
but mind you, she's a new coach. She's building that foundation. She's coming over from a very winning program, as we know, Syracuse, a very good, a solid team this year, and they've made plenty of that. But when you're a new coach, you're trying to build that, and that's the great thing about Molly. Molly came into a situation where you guys turned that around in a quick, like you said, fourth largest turnaround. You
Yeah.
typically don't see that a lot often in a lot of programs. Like you see it in some, but
Yeah.
you don't see it a whole
Yeah.
lot.
And the landscape has changed now with the portal. You can actually turn your roster over much faster.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, the sky's the limit, and the limit is money. As much as people don't want to talk about it, it's funny. I talk to boosters, and they're like, "What can we do?" And I go, "Do you want the honest
Or you
reason,
want me to sugarcoat it?
or what? Which one do you want?" And they're like, "No, the
Right,
honest one." And I said, "Your money," and they're like,
right.
"Oh, I wasn't wanting to hear that." But it's just the truth, and that's I think one of the reasons that I've been able to have longevity in this career too is that I sleep at night because I tell people the truth, and it's not always what you want to hear. But because of the ability for us to go to the portal and that the desert is such an amazingly gorgeous place. This university has they've been number one in innovation. It's number one for international, rated the number one school for international students. There's like it's just we're starting basically an AI type of medical school that is relying on all the technological advances. I've never known a president to be as creative and innovative as Dr. Crow is here. And it's the largest institution in the country. And so we have just amazing things to sell. And when it's 85 and sunny every day, except for the 4 months in the summer when it's ungodly hot, but I'll take that
Mhm.
every day, all day to be wake up every day and go, oh, it's sunny out again. and I'm an outdoors freak, so I love the hiking and all of the things that you can do down here. And we're the sixth largest city in the country, so the potential for NIL is really great when you have industries and businesses and those sort of things. We have all the professional sports, which
Yes,
is
you
super
do.
exciting. So there's just so many amazing things about the Phoenix area. And I'm just blessed that I have a chance to come back to this full circle moment and kind of finish what I started in a different capacity because I ain't on the bench no more.
Right, right. You're doing your thing from up top. You're overseeing, which I love that. Now, mind you, obviously I'm on the East Coast, so anytime that I get to see Arizona State, it's obviously real late at night. It's late time basketball or football, and you guys don't really travel over here. Although that might change for
Well, with
some of the
our
different
conference now,
things.
yeah, heck, we got to go to Central Florida, um,
Right, right,
Cincinnati, so West Virginia. I would consider
right.
that east. So,
Right. So you guys are traveling,
yeah,
and the reason why I say that is
not
because
conventional.
I definitely want to be able to check you guys out live
You
because I
should.
want to be able to see that. No question about that. Obviously, if you guys come in my region or if I get a chance to cover you guys, I certainly want to do that. But
That's
I
awesome.
also definitely want to have Molly on this podcast as well. I'm
You need
hoping
to.
and
I can make
praying.
that happen. I can make that happen.
Okay, I would love to get her on this podcast. But I think this has been a really, really dope episode because I really learned about you, your why, also your team, your mantra, who you was as a player, and also some favorite things about you, but also your day-to-day operation. Like I said, when you see titles and you see people coming on here, yeah, associate head coach, but director of basketball strategy, but you just don't know what somebody does. I'm sure you have long days in the season, but you're human. You also need an off season yourself. You got to recharge the batteries, and that's what you're kind of
Yeah,
doing right now, a little
it
bit,
is.
kind of in an overseer position. But once the fall time hits, it's go time, as you know. And it's maybe be able to get back on that court, conditioning, you and Miles, and along with the rest of the coaches. And then you got your new players coming in. Before I let you go, I got two final questions. And the first one is because I'm intrigued. I always want to ask this question. That's about the transfer portal. And the question I want to ask is how difficult has it made it as far as getting um players to come on to the team? Because now you got people going in and out, the transfer portal, you just never know about keeping players. I mean, hell, you saw what happened to the University of Tennessee. They depleted their entire team. Everybody heard about that. And they had about, I think, one player left on their team. How difficult has it made it to be able to be competitive? As far as the transfer portal, people sitting out, coming over, transferring, and stuff like that.
It's chaos. I'm not gonna lie. But
Mm,
look, I'm a scientist at heart, so I'm a Darwinist. It's survivor or perish. You have to adapt and change. And so, I think there's some old school coaches who have made it pretty clear that they don't like it, they don't
mhm,
embrace it.
mhm,
Um, I may not like it, but I'm all in when it comes to it, and trying to understand what players are looking for. We're very fortunate in our situation. This is a destination. What I feel bad for are some of the places that have historically good programs, but
mhm.
the kids are like, "Oh, that's great. You've had all these draft picks and you win all these games. How much are you paying me?" And so, if you don't have as much money as some of the others, it's going to become it is I don't know where this is going to land. It can't stay here and be sustainable. But while we're in it, I'm going to do everything I can to make it beneficial to us. What we had to do is use some analytics, and we knew the positions that we desperately needed. We were one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in our conference, and
Mhm.
yet we still won 24 games this year because we did it collectively and on the defensive end. So I told Molly, well, I'm not going to live through this again. We're going to get some shooters. So we got one of the best 3-point shooters, actually
Mm.
two of the top 10 best 3-point shooters in the portal. We got them. We got a conference player of the year. We got a point guard that we knew we had to get because ours graduated. And we were able to keep our big kids on our roster. So we were able to keep the kids in those positions, which are very difficult to find. There's just not enough of them.
Mhm.
And then we went and filled our roster in with there's metrics that you can use in terms of productivity and those sort of things, and we feel very excited about the kids we were able to capture. Look, we were not Oklahoma State and could pay a couple kids $1 million to go get kids. And hats off to them that they could. I'm not mad at them
Yeah.
about it at all. It's just the landscape we live in, and so I think some people can wallow in the obscurity and be mad about it
Mhm.
because it's definitely now a caste system where you have the haves and have-nots.
Right.
I think you can also be smart about how you maneuver. It's kind of like I say all the time. It's like Moneyball. You have to figure out who can fit the pay that you have, and then who's of value, the
For
best value.
sure.
And then
For
after
sure.
all of that, you have to make some phone calls and go, is this kid a turd or is she a great kid? And
Right.
because we have built a very strong foundation of character and driven young women, and so we want to continue on that path. Molly is very big on the type of human that you are, and I don't know if I've ever worked for a nicer head coach. She's just really, really is top notch, and so I can't. It was just so much fun this year, so much fun because
Love
of
it.
the challenges that were in front of us. But I felt like we conquered a lot. Now we would have loved to win a game or two in the tournament, and that's what I think the next goal for this group is going to be, is to
Mhm.
do some damage in the tournament. But yeah, I think we're on an upward track, and it's an exciting time to jump on board. We call it pipeline to paradise.
I love that. I do. I do. And obviously, with news coming down from the pipeline, that the men's are going to extend their teams from 68 to 76 teams
We're doing
in the
that too.
next, which
Women.
which is just absolutely. I'm gonna be honest with you, Stephanie. That's just absolutely insane. I don't like it one bit. Now, maybe some people do, but like, you might as well put all the damn teams in there. And let's just put everybody up in there. Let's just do
We
that. Like,
all need a
listen,
trophy, right?
right. I mean, this must be just a participation award. Like, there has to be some kind of stoppage, right? I mean, we went from four, from eight, now to 12 with the football. Now we're going to 76 teams. And
Yeah.
I get it. Money generated. I get money rules this. We're living in a capitalistic type of world. I get that. But at some point, where does it stop? Your thoughts of it possibly expanding to that particular number of 76 teams?
Yeah, well, it's happening. I just saw a tweet that had it. They said it was coming for the women too. The women's game is much different than the men. I think for the men, you're exactly right. It's a huge revenue producer, but there's a lot of issues and nuances in our game that adding more teams is not going to benefit us. There was already a big problem with attendance in these opening round games, very
Hmm.
low attendance. There was also a big problem in blowouts. The average
Hmm.
win margin was 20 and there was times it was 50 and 60. No one wants to be a part of those things. So now we're just adding more, however you want to look at it, teams that aren't capable of putting out a product that can compete with some of the higher end teams that you're going to have those matchups. It's not like
Right.
that on the men's side yet. So I think our game has some things to work through.
Hmm.
uh, I just don't even know who's going to watch a Tuesday. The selections on Sunday, and then you have zero prep one day to get on a plane and put a practice plan together and play a game. So really, you're not even game planning. You're just throwing the ball out and go, let's do what we do, which is fine. But I don't know on the women's side if why this is a big benefit. And we were joking, we're like, well, I guess the bonuses for going to postseason or NCAA tournament are going to get axed out of all of our contracts because pretty much
Right.
everybody's going now. So
Right.
it's not a big thing. Um,
Absolutely.
but like everything, how these conferences got to these places all had to do with money and TV revenue.
Yep.
In a fantasy world, I wish they would have just done all this with football and left all the other sports alone in their conferences. I'm a traditionalist, and it pains me to see the Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever, not have Oregon State and Washington State because they're just not big TV market teams. They invested a ton of money in facilities and coaches' salaries. And, I think about like my grandparents who might have been a fan of the Beavers and, get excited for the Civil War Cup and the rivalry games and playing Washington and Washington State, UCLA, USC, and now they've got I don't know what their conference is, but let's just say Fresno and whoever else. And wait, I like this is inherently who I am. We grow up and our grandparents give us like whatever gear of that team and now it's like, I'm not even excited about that. Like, why would I want to be a part of that? I just hate that that's what it turned into.
Hmm.
That we couldn't have left good alone. But I also, as much as I hate it, I understand it.
For
So,
sure.
we all we all have to survive within it. And I think the best coaches and the best GMs and the best directors of strategy realize these things, and then they figure out how to do the best they can in the system that they give us. And I think those are the best ones at it. Is we don't whine and complain about it. We do something in the structure of what they've given us, and we have to be really creative of how to maneuver through it. And those are, I think, are the best programs, the ones that the Dukes of the world that just signed the Amazon Prime deal
Yeah.
to have I think it's Amazon or somebody, Netflix or something, to do a few of their preseason games. Like to me, I'm
Yep.
like, yes, that's craftsmanship, that's thinking outside the box, and that's the space I want to live in. Is how can I be ingenuitive enough to create different spaces for our program to do something within the system that makes sense. That's where I want to use my mind and my brain to think about those things, is to be different.
I love that. I do. And listen, I had to ask that question because, like I said, it is expanding. It is a money grab. I totally understand that. And yes, I think some of the formatting for the women's game, like for me personally, obviously with the men's game, you have different cities hosting different rounds, first and second rounds. Obviously for the women's
Well
games,
established. And the women is
it,
not, it's at home sites.
it's
And
home
there's a chicken and
sites.
the egg that goes before all that. So if your schedule isn't good and you don't have a high,
Hmm.
um, net and all the things, and you don't have a home game. I think there was only two programs that won this year on someone else's floor. So all the home teams won.
Right.
So at the casual fans, like, why do you even play the games? Like, just have the 16 teams move on.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I can't be mad at him for making that statement, but I
But then
don't
you
know.
have the coach. Then you have the coach that had the press conference. If you remember that playing against UConn, That
Hmm.
coach came up there and said, "Hey, we keep running into this team all the
Yeah.
time, and you
Yeah.
keep, you know what I mean? So you're gonna have that 50-50 of that dynamic
Well,
all the
because it's
time."
about money, right? They're going to send us to the region you're in. They're not going to, like the men go cross country. It doesn't matter. It truly is on that S curve and all of the things. But in our game, it's not that way. So,
Mhm.
Syracuse has to go to UConn's regional every year because they're in that, it's like Buffalo. They're over here. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I get her point. Like, how is this fair? How is this evolving? How are different teams going to make some noise if we never can get to neutral sites where it's truly an equal game based on the talent.
Right. Right.
Um, that's just I don't have an answer for that because I see
For
both
sure.
sides of it, right? Like
For
we
sure.
got to have butts in the seats, and so that's why I'm in my space of trying to grow our game. So eventually we'll get to a place where people will come no matter who plays.
Well, listen, I'm definitely, I cannot wait. Obviously, it's going to be further down the line, but can't wait till you guys finalize your schedule coming out. I will be paying attention. Hopefully, I'll be able to have some West Coast stuff to be able to come over there and see you guys, or if you guys come east, it'd be great as well. That would be awesome. But I really, really do appreciate your time allocating to me, Stephanie, coming on my podcast. You are absolutely amazing. There's no question about that. And Arizona State's lucky to have you, and I know you're
Oh,
lucky to have them as well.
yeah.
I want to ask you this final question. That is there anything else you would like to add about yourself, the program, or anything at all before we conclude?
I think just in life, like I said, pursue impact. Put yourselves in a position where you are focused on being elite at whatever you do, and not be a box checker. I talk to our grad assistants because they're the young pups on our staff all the time about how they can make a difference and how they can be a benefit to the program. And some of that has to do with things that never are seen. I challenge them, to every time I come in our parking lot to work, I do a circle and see is there any trash or anything that looks off to me every single time because I want to be elite in what I do. Um, they all want to be in front of our head coach and get time with her, and I was like, don't ever go down there. She don't have time for you. But what you can do is be in spaces that she's in. So when her radio show happens at 6 p.m. every Tuesday down at the Blanco at the Mexican restaurant, you need to show up and interact with boosters and engage because see that's outside the box thinking.
Right.
When I got this job here, I immediately reached out. I searched the web and go, okay, who's the winningest coach on our staff of this whole athletic department? And it's our women's golf coach. She's won as a player, as an assistant coach, and a head coach. All won national championships at all three levels. And so I sought counsel from her the first day on the job. I just called her up and was like, introduced myself, and I said, hey, can we meet? And she's like, why do you want to meet with the golf coach? And I said, because you win. I want to be around winners. I don't have time for anybody else but committed winners. And she's like, well, we
Yeah.
practice at 6 a.m. I said, I'll be there. So I just think that you have to, when I talk to young coaches and young people in these industries, you have to find ways to make yourself in a position so people say, I can't live without him or her in this job. And so much of that is thinking ahead. I challenged our GAs I said, look, Coach Miller's got little kids, right? So, she got Cheetos and probably popcorn in the back seat. So when recruits come, how come you don't grab her keys and take the car and ask for her credit card and go get it cleaned out? Because that's a way then you can carve out space with her by not physically being present, but she's going to recognize, oh my gosh, that person is like invaluable to me because they're
Hmm.
thinking of the program first and foremost before themselves. I think young coaches are always like, well, I did what you asked me to do. Well, that's great, but that's not what this job requires. You have to use your brain and think outside the box and be someone that your boss can't live without. That's how you get elevated. I always tell our kids, your net worth is your network. And so everybody wants to, network outside of things and get these contacts, but really what you need to worry about is what's inside. Who can help you, who can advocate for you to get a job, to promote you. And some of these kids, I'm like, don't put me on your resume because you don't do anything that's above and beyond what any other person that would come in here.
I love it.
So yeah, you got to, it's a grind, but you have to have an elite mentality.
I love that. I love it. And listen, Stephanie, I want you to enjoy the rest of your Thursday and your weekend. And I cannot wait for Molly to come on here. Molly, if you're looking at this, come on. Come on to the
Amazing.
podcast. I definitely want to talk to you because you're amazing, because Stephanie's amazing. So I know you're absolutely amazing. But again, thank you so much, Stephanie, for coming on my podcast. And you enjoy the rest of your evening. We will definitely be in touch.
Good. Forks up. Go Devils.
Go Devils. We out. Thank you.